and then we can continue the conversation. Welcome, 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 everyone. This is your girl, your chocolate smoothie, Sister Talk with Valerie. I have a special guest here tonight. I am excited about. I'm going to read this gentleman's bio because he has done some really remarkable things. We have recently met, and just from one conversation, I was intrigued. So I'm welcoming my special guest, Mr. Tony James, and I'd like to take a few minutes to go over his bio. Mr. Tony James is a screenplay and songwriter, director, editor, music producer, and singer who is originally from Newark, my hometown, New Jersey, whose credo is whatever I put my mind and heart into, I do and accomplish with integrity and success. Throughout the 90s and the 2000s, Mr. James shared his talents of singing, songwriting, and music artistry in such groups as Moet, 1990 to 93, Sounds of Emotions, 96 to 2001, and the gospel group New Jerusalem, 2002 to 2004, as well as collaborations with the likes of New Jersey's iconic legends such as Tretch of Naughty by Nature, the Rotten Rascals, Jaheim, Naqui, Loden, Clever Minds, Knights, and many, many more. However, in 2010, Mr. James wrote the movie that would ultimately ignite his passion and purpose as a filmmaker. With his urban redemption YouTube indie classic, Brick City Boys, which garnered him the moniker of a content creator through the accumulation of a 4 million plus views worldwide. Afterwards, between the years of January 2011 and March 2016, he released 8 short films displaying his evolution as a thought provoking writer and director. Those films were entitled Under the Streetlight, which is a short film. That's What They Do, short film. Please Believe Me, short film. Born Again, nominated in 2017 at the NIFF. No Longer Needed. Risk, The Life of Floyd and Sabrina, web series. Her Namesake, short film. Where's King Arthur? The Search for a Father's Love, documentary. Supposition through his new film company, Supposition, through his new film company, which is entitled Godson, Godson Entertainment LLC, an entertainment company located in Spotsylvania, Virginia, whose services provide a wide range of media presentations that included commercials, event coverage, short featured films, and more. Mr. James intends in creating community empowerment activities through the forms of youth conferences, workshops, and base summits that will help shape the behavior and orientation of targeted, misguided youth while also providing employment opportunities to local artists collaborating with business to commercialize as well as promote service. Now that right there is a lot, Mr. James. I'm gonna let my daughter in, Miss
Okay.
Kia Reed, who is also an author,
Hello, Miss
as
Reed.
joining us tonight.
Hello, Miss McAllister.
Hello, hello,
How you
hello.
guys doing?
We're great. We're great.
All right.
And we are. That was a heck of a bio, Mr. James.
Yeah, well,
With all
majority
that
of not all
said,
of it's true.
who is Tony James? That was a lot of accolades, but who
Oh,
is at his core Tony James?
Tony James is a spiritual being having a physical experience. Tony James is a loving, compassionate, um, thought-provoking, modest husband and father. Tony James is or tries to be a gift to everyone around him. Um, a God fearing, I use the term God because I know we have a lot of, um, religious brothers and sisters. So I use the term God, believing, um, spiritual practicing daily to be better than he was before or yesterday. I'm just an all around individual, just trying to be, you know, whatever I can be. So that's who Tony James is. Other than filmmaker, songwriter, et cetera, all the accolades that I thank you for repeating. Um, I didn't have anybody to write that for me, so I had to write it for myself. So thank you.
So you've done a lot in sort of the entertainment industry.
Hmm.
But what stands out to you when I say the accolades, film producer, writer? Which one is sort of your heart? We all have something that is like a heart and soul.
Hmm.
What would that be for you?
I would uh, undoubtedly say Brick City Boys. The reason why, because I literally had one camera. I had a couple guys that grew up in the area. Two guys wanted to help me out because I actually starred in the film and wrote the film, produced the film, and things of that nature. I had some other friends help me as far as producing the film. But I was a songwriter and then, helping other people out for over 10 years musically. And the business just became so redundant and cutthroat that one day I just came up with the film. And it is loosely, very loosely about my life and also loosely about some family members of mine. And they're also in the film. And we just incorporated our story and brought it to life. Which I'm not proud of it. I used to be a courier. That's the best word I can use um, in the you know the drug dealer, whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about other things right now. I apologize, but I was a courier, and got things to point A and point B. I'm not proud of it. I'm not sensationalizing it, but it was at a time where it happened, and I just basically told my side of the story of what happened, and I went back to music. And like I said, I produced a lot of music for a lot of people, including Tretch and um, Lords of the Underground. There's so many other people, so many countless others I can't think about them all or can't name them all. So that's what happened. I just made a film about it and got on YouTube, and people ultimately gravitated to the story. And people, I would walk around, no, Suave, what's up, Suave? And they forgot who I was and continuously called me my character, and it was a good feeling. So I would say undoubtedly it was Brick City Boys.
You might know my late brother-in-law. His name is Frank Hatchett. He grew up in Newark. He did a
Hmm.
lot of producing. He ran with Tretch and them. He
I'm sure I've excuse me, the name sounds very familiar, so that threw me off soon you said it. So yeah, I'm sure I've came across Frank quite a few times.
he's DJ Get Loose. He
Hmm.
just passed away recently.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. That was one reason why my family and I uh, relocated here to Pennsylvania, because we lost so many people between 2020 and at this time. And once again, I'm so sorry to hear about your brother Frank.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell me about the messages that you want to convey to the audience in the films that you make.
Okay. I'm all about redemption. I'm all about bringing real stories to life, as far as things that, or stories more rather, that are relatable. Um, I've had in 50 years a very remarkable life. Um, I do believe in miracles. I do believe in God. Maybe not in the conventional sense, but I do believe that there is a supreme being over us all. Um, but I also believe that the universe conspires to grant us the desires of our heart. And when people say angels, I say ancestors, because who we truly are and who we are soon to be will be a replication, excuse me, of the people that came before us, our loved ones, the elders. So when people, say they pray to their angels, I understand. because my angels are my ancestors. They were here before me and they will be here with me to guide and direct my path. So I write stories that are identifiable to the human, needs and human challenges that we all face every day.
Tell us about one of them.
Well, my newest one that I'll be working on, and starting about 2 weeks from now, 10 minutes ago, it's a Job experience. That's the best way I could put it. The leading character, Thomas Graham, is at a crossroads where he's dealing with mental issues due to the losses that he has overcame or has faced, more rather, in a small period of 6 months. It's not until a newfound friend shows him just who he truly is at that point in time to help him sort things out. That's the best way I could put it without giving out everything, as far as the whole synopsis or plot of the film. But it's definitely dealing with mental illness, which we deal with in our community. But unfortunately, and I hope people can understand where I'm coming from when I say this, we sweep this condition or this issue under the rug, and because of our consciousness, as far as social consciousness or religious practices, we always give it to our spirituality or our religious understanding, as opposed to facing it head on and admitting what exactly goes on in our lives to get to the root, or even generational, to get to the root of the thing, face it head on, and change the trajectory of where that person is going or needs to go. So yeah, that's the whole, I guess, whole synopsis about 10 minutes ago. I'm looking forward. I'm very excited. If you don't mind, I would like to shout out a couple people: Heath Snow, who's an executive producer, and Miss Shamila Beslow. I have to really shout her out, or esteem her, because in this short period of time since I was working on the film, she has done nothing but come in and really, be my partner in it. She's first she came on as an actress, but because of her dedication and because of the storyline, she felt so compelled to use her resources, people that she knew, and also just her being, to place herself right next to me as my assistant director. So I'm very grateful and thankful for Miss Shamila for taking, for just being her, most of all. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting the film done. We're probably doing the premiere. I won't say probably, we'll be doing the premiere in the middle of December. We're sorting out which theater. I'm trying to do two theaters in the location of Spotsylvania, or more rather Fredericksburg, and the other in DC. So we'll keep everyone posted.
I feel you about having someone that is really supportive as your assistant director.
Mm-hmm.
That is what my daughter Kia is for me. She
Okay.
has this vision. She is such a great director. So I'll have the vision and she'll make it come to life.
Mm.
She's like in my head. Kia,
Mm.
did you have any questions for Mr. James?
No, I've just been thinking about a lot of things that you said. It's making me think of so many things. Like when you talked about mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
I was just reading a post about Kanye West and how
Mm.
thinking about how the Black community is responding to his mental illness. And it's just been really interesting to kind of see how people don't want to kind of embrace that that is a part of what's going on. It's
Yeah.
everything else in the world and all this conversation, but none of the conversation is really stemming around mental illness.
Right. And sadly enough, this is typical of our community. Um,
Mm.
we would rather ostracize and penalize one another for our shortcomings and missing the mark, as opposed to taking time out and looking at individuals as we look at ourselves. Um, I don't believe that Kanye or Ye is crazy or delusional. I believe that, as he stated, He's dealing with mental illness, and also he's dealing with the loss of his moms. He's still dealing with that. He's still dealing with. I don't think people really understand the complexity of this man being a billionaire and not being able to trust no one. And the sad part is, even with his discussions these days about the Jewish community, and he also he says, "I'm Hebrew myself," which really is a deep, conundrum of him trying to say it's not their fault, but it is. And I think just like Kanye, sometimes we all have a way of not explaining ourselves completely, and people just jumping off, the roof, so to speak, off the first things that we say, instead of once again pointing the fingers at ourselves or looking ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, what is incomplete about me? What is it about me that I can fix? What is it about me that I need to correct? So I'm loving on Kanye. I've always loved Kanye. As far as producer, he's been one of the greatest producers of all time, in my opinion. He's definitely a magical rapper. That's the best way I could put it. He's a lyricist. He's a hip hop artist. But like I said, he's in a point or a crossroad in his life where it says, "What profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul?" I don't think he's losing his soul, but I think the people that are around him are assisting in him being and doing that. And the only thing I can say, we send healing, energy and vibrations his way. We send prayers his way and thoughts his way. And I continue to be on the man's side, and that's the best way I can put it.
We had a very interesting conversation, Mr. James. Your viewpoints on um, not even, I'm not going to say religion, I'm going to say
Say it.
religion and humanity
Okay.
were very, for me,
Mm-hmm.
the conversation we had helped me.
Okay.
I
I'm
said
glad to hear
after
it.
I
Thank
got
you.
off the phone, this is an intelligent, very awake man, very awake man. And I wanted you to kind of share some of your thoughts about, we talked about we as a people, we
Mm-hmm.
as people of African American descent. We talked about the stories that we embrace and how they become real for us. Maybe you could share a little bit about that. I think
Okay.
it also sort of ties into how we as a people, and I mean Black people, are responding to Kanye.
Absolutely. Okay. How can I? Okay. First off, the religious, and I'm going back to Kanye for a minute. The religious factor of his, I guess I can say, behavior is that he's grasping on to what he has left, which is his faith, because a lot of things are being, stolen, or more rather taken from him. And this is what we do as a people in our community. We grasp onto our faith above and beyond anything else that we have. You when you look at us as a people, now I'll get into me first before I get into. I grew up in the church, grew up a Christian, grew up in a Pentecostal church. At one time, I had people, pastors, trying to groom me into becoming a minister. I've even had pastors tell me, "Well, boy, if you don't get underneath my wing, God ain't gonna bless you." And living in that, people will say, "Oh, that's church hurt that you." I understand where some people will look at the way that I say or express myself when it comes down to the Black church, how they can perceive it as church hurt. However, all throughout history, we've had other means of information that as a people we have rejected due to our indoctrination in Christianity or in religion. It just so happened Christianity is the number one religion in this society. And it has a lot to do with the thing that we don't want to admit, which is slavery. Yes, there were religious practices in Al-Kebulan or Africa or Kush. However, in those religious practices, they did not make the deity separate from themselves. The deity was one with them. And when you look at, for example, Jesus Christ was a consciousness as opposed to a human being. Now, people will reject that. You have a right to reject that. I've rejected it for years before I came into the understanding of that. We are conscious people. We are spiritual people having a human experience. And in understanding consciousness, there is information that is shared with us when we sleep, throughout our day, as we live and breathe. That is not our own thoughts, but come from our ancestors, come from the elders and those that came before us. But once again, as I said before, we will reject that notion because of dogma and indoctrination of our people. There are some good things that are good in the Bible. Just like there's some good things in Aesop's fables. There's some good things in the Quran or the Torah. However, once again, due to slavery and due to the persecution of our people, we have turned a side eye from anything other than. And we call that religious narcissism, because we will get into a situation where we would defend ourselves at any cost to believe what we believe is factual when we have no proof, because faith is the substance of things hoped for and and evidence of things unseen. So everything that we believe in it because it was passed down through whatever religious book that we read. We don't know these books eternally. We don't know who wrote these books. We don't have any idea where they came from. But because, like I said previously, through indoctrination, we've encapsulated ourselves to just believe in that to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, when we deal in consciousness, or we deal with natural or netter, the things that are universal, we can understand the complexity of how religion and nature are one and the same, or even science are one and the same. When you look at energy, what is energy? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. What is God? God is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end. So if we looked at that just as the start, if God and energy are one and the same, then what else is one and the same? What else? What is frequency? What is vibration? How do these things collectively become a part of our being, that when we read other books, whether religious books or otherwise, certain words can jump out and leap in us or to us that we say, wait a minute, I can identify what that means because it's a part of me. And as I said previously, when people separate the deity from themselves, they do not understand who they are. So that's a small inkling of I don't want to go into my crazy spills. Sometimes my wife always gets you're going too deep, but everything is connected. Everything is nature. Everything is natural. And as I said previously, I'm sorry, when you look at religious books, there is always something that we need to question that we choose not to question because someone would tell us, oh, you ain't supposed to question God. When in turn, there are scriptures that tell you, ask and it shall be given, seek and ye shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. So there are hidden things in there that, yes, if utilized successfully, can produce, and manifest. but there are also some things in these books that we will not question. For example, how did one man, which is Noah, sleep with one woman? And I don't recall what his wife's name was in the Bible, but I don't think they even said her name. How did this man, coming out of one loins, create generations? Now, if someone can explain that to me, we can start a real conversation. So when we look at the curse of Ham, for example, the curse of Ham was supposed to be over Africans, everyone of melanin. When we look at the Asians, those are Japheth. When we look at even Europeans, we're looking at Shem. So how in the world all these ethnicities came out of the loins of one man? And how is it that that one man only cursed the ethnicities of Ham? And that is one discussion that any religious basis will not even question. So that's just a little bit of what I'm bringing to the table. So I
You
hope I,
see? No,
I
you
hope.
did. You make me go, hmm.
Yeah.
We have a question from Eunice White. She said, do you think that Kanye has become codependent on religion or deity?
That's a good question. I don't think he's became or has become, excuse me, codependent. What I think is misinterpreted. I think his passion for his gift is what he is. However, once again, if you have the wrong, it says evil communication corrupts good manner, right? So if you have the wrong people in your ear or around you or constantly influencing you, then there's a chance that your gift will not make room for you anymore. The alternative is the things that someone else tells you to do that will supersede even your faith. So I hope I answered that correctly. I hope Eunice can understand what I'm saying with that. I don't think that Kanye has became separate of what he believes in. I know the man has a love for God, but his interpretation through communication and through the powers that are around him is diluting his truth. That's the best way I can put it.
I think that can be said of many of us,
Hmm.
that we are sometimes led by the things around us,
Hmm. I
led
mean,
by.
people would say even with me, well, why is he spewing that? Um, that's a human, emotion. That's a human vibration. That's a human frequency that, when anything that puts us in a position that we have to question it, we don't like to question things. We like to put things in a box, and if it does not go the way that we want it to go, then that's it. That's all. All of us can be wrong. I could be wrong. But if I can show manifestations of positivity from what I'm speaking of that is producing life, same thing with Kanye. The man is a billionaire, and I think they've taken some money from him now, so he's not no longer a quote unquote billionaire. But if we look at his track record, this man has blessed people. This man has lifted his community in certain ways musically. That that was his task, and if he didn't do it, no one else would. I mean, we could just take Jesus Walk for example. That song went across the board to the point where even Christians that would mock him start doing performances with him. Yolanda Adams was on stage with him quite a few times. Other acts that was, of the quote unquote religious background or, Christianity, they follow. They love Jesus Walks. So I don't think, once again, we do this in our community. We'll persecute people and put them on crosses ourselves instead of putting ourselves on the cross. So
Kia, thoughts?
So I feel like it's my aim in making films was to make faith-based films because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like, people are, people are reading, but the attention span of many is very short. So my idea was in a short film to give people something that would inspire them and then uplift them and um, help them to see the inheritance that they have in God, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do
Mm-hmm.
you balance creating films that deal with religious or faith-based subject matter in a way that doesn't come across as preachy or provides too much of your own beliefs, but leaves it kind of open so that people can be entertained? Because I'm always thinking about that line of entertaining people and making it a good story,
Mm-hmm.
but also incorporating some of the things that I feel like are foundational to delivering a message.
Mm-hmm. There's a saying they say, you put the medicine in in the candy. Um, I may be paraphrasing it different, but basically you find a topic that's relatable, and within that topic, it doesn't have to be, as preachy or uh, fanatical. It still has to show a human side, because to me, and this may sound strange, spirituality is humanity. Um, you don't have to use a dogma or a doctrine to get your point across, because everyone may not follow the same doctrine. I can't sit there and tell a Muslim man that he's wrong. I can't say people in Pakistan or in India, when they're, you know, worshiping or honoring Shiva, oh, no, that's wrong. And once again, this is where religion, being a religious narcissist gets you. It makes you look at people in such a judgmental manner, that now, because they don't do what you do, you think you're better. And once again, let's go back to slavery. When our people came through the slave fortress in Ghana, they were baptized. They were baptized. They were baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now, if we just take that for example, the colonizers weren't concerned about our spiritual practices. They weren't concerned about, you know, whether we prayed 5 times a day, whether we turned our head to the east. So they weren't worried about none of that. They placed us in servitude and gave us their religion. So if we could just think about that for a moment, once we go back to humanity, humanity doesn't have a religion. Humanity wants to see the person that may not look like them, but be treated equally fair. And all throughout this society, even when people go to court, they have to swear on a Bible. Where did that Bible come from? How do I know that that Bible is actually the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So the construct of society is built around religion. So if you are just speaking in a place of humility, of love, of, you know, frequencies or vibrations that are pure, that are kind, that are genuine, and you don't want to see someone go through a fate that you wouldn't put yourself through, that to me is how you make a film. There has to be something that people can see themselves and say, wow, I just went through that. Wow. And until the person that's watching the film thinks, acts, and feels in the position of the antagonist or the protagonist. That's the way, in my opinion, humbly, how you tell a story, how you're able to do a faith-based story. and be successful at it to the point where people will want more of what you're sharing with them. So I hope I answered that question. I know I'm very long winded, y'all, so I apologize.
I don't know. I think that's great. I think there's a lot of truth in that. And I feel like what you're touching on is part of the reason why stories have sustained in our society forever. You
Right.
know, the ability to relate to a story and see a reflection of ourselves in the story. I feel like is what makes the
Mm-hmm.
storytellers and the movies and the books continue on and on and on. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Like my favorite two films of all time is The Color Purple and The
That's
Matrix.
mine
Yeah.
too.
So with The Color Purple, to me, I mean, cinematically, um, the writing, Alice Walker, um, it just shows who we are, uh, even through the atrocities, even through the learned behaviors. Because let's take Mister for example. Mister was a child in a grown man's body that was mimicking the information given to him by his father. So he didn't even love himself. So how can anyone show or reciprocate love if they don't know what it is?
Mhm.
And in certain cases, if once again humanity comes in, you almost feel sorry for Mister, in
Mm.
spite of what he did to Silly. You know, at the end of the movie or near the end of the movie, even when his father came through and said, "You know what you need, boy? You need a young girl to come help you clean up." Wait a minute. This has been passed down from generation to generation to generation. Even, once again, slavery. So we see the emulation of the slave master. We see it in his father. Because guess what? His father saw it in the slave master. When we see Silly, I'm black, I'm this, but I'm alive.
Mm.
If we can get to that understanding that in spite of everything that we may be going through, we are grateful and thankful to see it all. Because this woman went through every hell that you could possibly, think of or speak of. Yet, she still found herself when she found the love in her sister when it returned. So it's so many stories within The Color Purple that we don't even scratch the surface. I can watch that movie all day. My wife can't stand me when The Color Purple come on. Now The Matrix, on the other hand, if you know who Sophia Stewart is or don't know who she is, I need you guys to look up Sophia Stewart.
Mm.
Her book back there is The Third Eye. The Terminator and The Matrix are based off of Sophia Stewart's book. The Terminator, and I have no doubt in my mind if you ever listen to her, because she doesn't do too many interviews. This woman is the epitome of a goddess. She is truly the epitome of a goddess. And what makes her so much so is because over the past close to 30 years, close to 40, when you look at Terminator, Hollywood has been living off of her prophecy. Everything that this woman saw that was going to come to pass and has come to pass is in The Third Eye, is in her book. So much so that they took remnants of the book and put it in script form because she was trying to actually, and it was, once again, ironically, it was from a faith-based structure of her film, yet in sci-fi. So they stole and made it stole her ideal and made it the Terminator. Then the brothers, I can't speak of their names right now because I don't remember exactly how to pronounce it, but nonetheless, they regurgitated the story from that book and did the Matrix. Now, when we talk about the Matrix, what she did was explain it in detail who we all are. We are all the one, and we are also Smiths. We are angels and demons. We are gods and goddesses, and yes, we are devils. So when she formulated all this, once again, get the book, The Third Eye, she tried to show us who we truly are and what we're capable of doing and being. Ironically, if you ever really read Matthew, that's just the consciousness of Jesus Christ. People will just say, oh, he's Jesus Christ. Understand, he's Jesus. The word Christ means the anointed one. We are all anointed ones. If you look at Jesus walking through all throughout of Matthew, not the other three books, he explains to everyone, thy faith has made you whole, meaning you can heal yourself if you believe it. He also told the Pharisees and Sadducees, it isn't written that ye are gods. Meaning, if you understand the road of Jesus, Jesus spent a majority of his time in Egypt. He doesn't come back until he's 30 years old. So guess what? In that information or detail, he learned the teachings and the knowledge and information and the understanding of the gods and goddesses of Egypt. Now, there's some people that will read the Bible and say, oh, well, God rebukes Egypt. Well, he also says, I'm the Lord our God that came from Egypt. So once again, there are contradictions in the Bible. Now, some people don't want to hear this. Now, going back to the third eye, she based Neo, which is all of us, over the Jesus prototype. It wasn't until Neo started to believe he was just Mr. Anderson. It wasn't until he believed in himself that he claimed and called himself, my name is Neo. Now, how's that deal with us? We are much more, as I said earlier, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. If we allowed ourselves the ability to believe without a system to go through. And what I mean by that, yes, going back to the Bible, you can come in your own name. Because here's the key. When you read any book or anything, words are words. Anything that you read, any book, comes alive through you. As a man think in his heart, so is he. Thoughts become things. The only way that these things can become, it has to come through you. And in coming through you, there are three things that ignite this. This is what faith is all based upon. When you read the words and you understand spelling, that is spell. Meaning that is a way to cast a thought or productivity to make manifested. So you read whatever line that you read from whatever book, then it comes into connection with your imagination. So you can see what's on that particular book or that paper, whatever you're reading. And once it ignites with your imagination and you see what is being said, you're able to manifest through thought and then through the practice of whatever you're reading to make it become so. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to say, again, as I said when I introduced you, you are a very aware, knowledgeable man. And my thoughts are that some of us have to, my daughter wrote a book called A Love Like Child's Play and Other Narratives to Rewrite Love. And her book is based on that word love for ourselves, for the God that of our understanding, and for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she really breaks down that, you know, where we got our perception of what love is. Like, where did we learn that? Like you're saying, we learned something because it was passed down, we saw it. But it really speaks to what you're saying, how she defined and broke out love. In
I would
order,
love that book too. Not to cut you off, so please make sure I can pay. I want to pay. I want to buy that book wherever I can buy it. So,
okay, here I have some copies, and
all
I
right,
can
great,
definitely send it
great.
to you.
Thank you.
One of the things is you have to become aware,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, if we're standing all on one line and we're getting ready to run a race, you're already up here in the race, Tony.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of us have to get to the point to where we are aware, and that's that self-love that has to happen first.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many obstacles, societal balls in the air, things that we are trying to navigate on a day-to-day basis,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
the notion, so sometimes in order to just get a foothold of crazy, get us together, we need that religion. Something needs to create some boundaries for me. Otherwise, I'm gonna be way over here. Something
Yeah, yeah. But here's something that, and this is just from my perception. Your mother and father are the first examples of God. So if you are being abused by your mother and father, what are you going to think about God? Because they are actually the first people that initiate you to understand who God is. So once again, if the characteristics of God comes through anger, comes through molestation, comes through abuse, comes through lust. So by the time you get to the pages, you're identifying that deity by the person that brought it to you. Same thing with when you look at the image and likeness of God. Going back to, I hate to do it again, people, slavery. What was the image and likeness of God? The white man. And it's no disrespect, and I'm not speaking racial prejudice. I'm just speaking what is factual. When you look at the inception of anyone seeing what we thought was Jesus, he was white. And by that being your prototype, then you will, psychologically and unconsciously look at white people as your saviors. So this is why it's so important to be careful, once again, of what kind of spells we put on people who, especially children, who do not have the full understanding or capacity of what the God prototype or religious basis really means or who is. Because once you get that in your lineage, it takes a lifetime to get out. Now, once again, I will not sit here and act like I didn't come from it. This is what I was raised literally in church on a regular basis. And unfortunately, the people that profess God the most didn't show me what God truly was. The people that, oh, I love the Lord, he heard my, they didn't show vivid examples. I've only had two people in my life that were the best prototypes of Christians. And even in their examples, and they were married, they lived in separate beds. My pop lived upstairs, my mom lived downstairs. Now, if God is love, and Adam and Eve were supposed to be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it, then even their consciousness example of what love is supposed to be, the first church is marriage. But I see them separate. So I only bring this up to make a conclusion that our inceptions comes through our perceptions of the people that are in our proximity on a regular basis. And if we do not find everything that is supposed to be pure or holy in those individuals, then we take ourselves on this whirlwind. And even, for example, with myself, I was 318 pounds 2 years ago. When I got down here during COVID, I had so many friends pass away, family members, and I knew I didn't have it. But as I stated before with Miss Valerie, there was a knob being turned on the back of my head to the point where I would be in excruciating pain on a regular basis. And I cried to my wife, we got to leave Jersey. We have to leave Jersey now, because if we don't, I'm going to be next. Now, I had no signs, no anything remotely dealing with respiratory issues, anything else as far as COVID was concerned. However, there was a frequency and a vibration that was in Jersey that I can't explain, but it was there. Long story short, when we reached the border going into Delaware, the pain ceased. And once I got down here, I got a physical, because the great thing about being in Spotsylvania or Fredericksburg, they're smaller towns. The population of death was actually lower in the south as opposed to up north. I got the physical, found out I was pre-diabetic, which runs in my family on my father's side. I took the initiative to say to myself, I will not be like my father or my brothers. I got brothers who take insulin on a daily basis. I will not be like them. I got myself on a regimen, and as you can see, I lost 100 pounds. Why? It's because I wanted to be better for myself, and I made the choice. Now, how does what I'm talking about deal in a religious basis? It tells us, be not conformed to the things of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of our mind or our minds. I don't watch the news. I don't subject myself to anything that's going to put me in a lower frequency or lower vibration to make me think in a negative state. I don't have bad days. I have challenges. Today was a challenge. The reason why my voice is the way it is. I was weeping a little bit, but guess what? Tears are purification to take the things emotionally and physically out of you that do not deserve to be there. And every day and every way, I get better and better. So I bring this into the perspective, because even in a religious factor, they say, you know the people by the fruit they bear. And if you are continuously putting yourself in an induced state of pain, like for example, we're vegans. We've been vegans for 2 years. If I know that they're putting steroids in the chicken and the fish and the seafood, when we got down here, we were pescatarian. We only ate seafood. And I do this for what? Because I like the way the food tastes. My wife seasoned up. If we want to eat seafood, we got some portobello mushrooms. She cut them things up, put the seafood on it. You swear you eating fish. So there's always a way of escape, religiously, spiritually, naturally, that we choose not to do because, once again, through indoctrination, through what we were taught, or the images that we see on a regular basis that will not allow us to change because we don't think we can. And we can do anything and all things. Once again, I'm sorry, I'm long-winded, but that's...
No, you're right. Or we're lazy. We're lazy. We can be lazy.
Yeah.
So, my goodness, I am so taken by your knowledge, by your outlooks, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk. We're almost at time, but before we leave, I want to give Kia a chance to sort of chime in on any questions, and I also want you to give people some information about how to reach you, how to contact Godson Entertainment.
Okay.
If there are things you're looking for, like actors, actresses.
Look, I've been stuttering all this whole interview, so you're not alone.
kind of put it out there, and maybe
Mm.
some, you'll never know what connections. So tell us one. Let me give Kia an opportunity to respond, and then I'll turn it back
Okay.
over to you, Mr. James, so you can
Okay.
give us some information on how to reach out to you.
Okay.
I didn't have any questions. I think that a lot of people are in this. When I hear people speak, most of the time, recently or lately, they say 2 years ago, and it's kind of like, what did you do with that experience of COVID? What
Mm.
came out of it? How did you respond? And how did your life change? And people have changed in some really incredible ways. And I feel like if you did not, then you're currently probably going through some continued turmoil,
Right.
because God is going to have manifest what He meant you to get out of that experience, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. Um, so, what would you say for people? What would be some advice that you would give as a form of reflection on what has happened in the last 2 years, and where they could possibly lead themselves to from that reflection?
Okay. Thank you for that question. That's a great question. Um, know who you are. Find out who you are. Find out who you are. Let me take the swallow. I'm sorry, you guys. Um, for me to make the change, I had to separate myself from people I love. I had to separate from the person I used to love. The guy that was 318 pounds. Um, I had to separate from the place that I was raised. I love and miss Newark, New Jersey. I will always love Newark, New Jersey. It's where I got my bones from. There's some things that when I think about Newark, that I just, as you can see, puts a smile on my face. The old Newark as opposed to the new Newark, so to speak. When I was growing up, there was a little bit more unification, and I won't go into details about that. My mother dated some very known criminals, but even those known criminals showed children extreme love and explained to them, no, I don't want you to be kind, and I want you to do what I do. But nonetheless, you have to come to a point when you say enough is enough. Um, and when I make this next statement, I'm by no means am I slandering anyone. So please, um, the reason why my family and I did not get the shot, because I watched my son, my youngest son, get a shot 18 years ago. Oh, excuse me, 16 years ago. No, not even 16. About, like I said, about 17 and a half years ago. That devastated my family. My son is autistic. Um, and like I said, I literally watch a light dim in him. And that's one reason why I did the documentary with Riza Islam, that we actually got an award. We actually nominated in Baltimore right now. Um, because people really didn't believe vaccinations had side effects. They really did not believe that the government or the medical industry would do something to them. My wife, my son, and I have never been vaccinated. We're not going to be vaccinated because, like I said, not just because of what I saw happened to my son, but because we live daily using homeopathic things of the earth, whether it be black seed oil, whether it be melanin, whether it be sea moss. Uh, it's several things that I could speak of, whether it be just green tea that purifies and edifies your body at all times. Where even when they are doing some things in the air that we may not know about, your body is able to detoxify itself to be able to go out into the world and live successfully. Yes, I still wear masks while I'm at work. Um, but once again, it's all about knowledge, wisdom, understanding of self. When you indulge in trying to produce the best of you, you recognize there are some things that you're just not going to subject yourself to. As I said previously, I don't watch the news. There is nothing on the news that has not been said or done over the past 50 years. The news regurgitates everything. Everything. Whether it be school shootings, whether it be diseases, it regurgitates everything between a 10 to 15 year basis. And if you don't believe me, I need you to go back and look at some of the things that goes on when they're saying what they say on the news. They are repeating the same rhetoric that was manifested years back. And they may change a certain phrase or what, but it's the exact same thing. Why? Because, and I have to say it, this is the Matrix. If you ever saw the movie, you will recognize that nothing changed except the people that was in it. It stayed the same. And yes, we are living in a matrix. So we have to understand and recognize who we are. What can I do for me that's going to solely be for me? Whether it be the things that I read, whether it be the way I change my body, but anything else, it has to start with the mind. You cannot try to change anything until you change your mind. It must start with you saying, I must do this. I can, I will, and I must for the betterment of me. That means people that you don't need to speak to. I got friends that I love dearly, but I know were toxic that I had to leave alone because if I get back with them now, if I call them right now, they're going to talk about the same conversations they talked about a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago. When we change our thinking and our attitude, that's when everything starts. Wayne Dyer, who I love deeply, when you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at begin to change. And it's not until then that you start changing you that the things that you look at won't change. And that's productivity. That's true manifestation. It must start with you. I have vision boards. I have affirmations. I do things that are on a regular basis. Why? It's because I changed me. And if I want to stay changed, I have to program what they try, or reprogram rather, what they program us to see, think, and act and feel on a daily basis. And until we start reprogram ourselves, that's what happens. We have to change us. So I'm sorry. I told you I'm
No,
long-winded.
don't be sorry. It does. It starts with us. Any change has to start with us.
Indeed.
I have enjoyed this conversation, Mr. Tony James. Thank you, Kia, for joining us. Please tell the audience where to reach out to you. If you're looking for actors or set people or writers, put it out there.
Okay. I'm always looking for people. I'm always looking for actors, actresses, set people. I'm always looking for, I haven't put it up yet, but I'm probably going to be doing some crowd funding very soon. I'm looking for investors. I'm new to Spotsylvania and Fredericksburg, so hello, everybody. And I'm looking for people who are like minded, who want to see something grow and manifest into a beautiful flower, into the point where the world can look at the flower and see the greatness of it. You guys can contact me at Godson, GODSON or period entertainment at yahoo.com. Please, if you do, leave your information. If you're an actor, actress, please leave your picture. I'm looking for some people right now to fill certain roles. A majority of the actors and actresses right now, thus far, for the film that I'm about to produce 10 minutes ago, are all in the Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania area. And I'm trying to continue with that. I am looking for people in the area. I'm also looking for a church for the film. I've come across a couple of them, spoke to some representatives from those churches, but I'm still haven't found the one that I know is going to um, be the Oedipus that I need to bring this story, the fullness of the story, to life. So if you have a great church home um, and a good pastor that does not mind sharing his facility, his place of worship, please get in contact with me. Even if you're a pastor, please get in contact with me. If I've said or done anything to offend any Christian, any Muslim, any anyone from the Jewish community, or anybody that's just a believer, please, I'm sorry. I apologize. This is my truth through my living. I'm sure you have your truth, and I have no problem listening to your truth, and we can share, some things together. But I mean no offense. Um, but this is my way of life, and I'm thankful and grateful for it. So, thank you, and thank you, Miss Valerie, and thank
Thank
you, Miss
you.
Kia,
Thank you.
for allowing me to be on your platform. Um, it's been a blessing, and like I said, I talk a lot, so thank you for allowing me to talk.
It's been a blessing for myself as well. Eunice White. Well, first of all, I want to thank Armstrong International Media that sponsors Sister Talk with Valerie. And also, I want to thank my sister at Untapped Music Radio. Eunice is in the Maryland area. She says she's going to stay tuned on your progress. I am very much looking forward to the release
Mm,
of this movie because I can't wait to see it.
mm.
Um, and I know that we will have a long standing relationship because we are both in the same area. Kia is in Maryland and I'm in
Okay,
Virginia,
okay.
but we are always looking for someone to collaborate with, always looking
Mm.
for someone to do a good
Wow, what was that? The
videographer.
timer? Yeah, look, my light just went out on me.
Oh, that's
Uh,
because you have to
yeah,
one out.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, my
Thank
film
you.
light just went out. That's crazy. But I
Yeah,
mean, let me see. I could just
let me
turn this
put
light around and you guys can see me. Hopefully, you can see me that way. Because now it's looking like a basement party. There's a blue light and red light. So
I'm gonna put your email address in the chat so
please.
that people can know
And
how
Miss
to
Kia,
find.
I want to see your. Like I said, please tell me where I can get the book. I definitely want to, sew into your book and anything else. If you have some films that's on Amazon, please, give me the information so I can definitely promote your endeavors as well.
Thank you so much. My book's available on Amazon. I also have a children's book called I Am My Thoughts. It's about metacognitive thinking, trying to promote that in children. But yeah, my mom can put my book links in the chat as well.
Okay, great, great. Looking
Yeah,
forward to getting it.
but thank you. Yeah, yeah. I look forward to working with you. This has been really great. There are a lot of filmmakers in the DC area. Um, one of the ways that I was able to get into film or learn more about them was doing the 48-hour film festivals, and
Mm.
that's where like everyone, the directors and cinema. I always mess that word up, so I'm not going to say it.
Cinematographers, yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's where
I'm with
everyone
you.
kind of
I'm with you.
gets together. So that's been one of the ways I think that they will probably have more. COVID kind of slowed some things down,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a great way to kind of just meet the film community in this area or
Mm-hmm.
in the DMV area.
And I please allow me to say this. Before I left New Jersey, um, I was nominated for the films that you guys will see on Tubi the first quarter of 2023. Uh, I was excited because my partners and I were nominated. I mean, on several occasions. And what happened was the last time in 2017, um, we sat right there in the audience, and all of the nominations that we had, it was about 4 or 5 of them at the time, we looked up and they weren't no longer on the platforms, or more rather in the categories.
Mm.
And when I tell you that devastated me, to the point when I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. I don't want no parts of it anymore. And what happened was with the documentary that I spoke about with Riza Islam, I sent it into a couple of film festivals, ironically in Canada. And I don't know if you guys can see them. Those are the awards that I won, and Riza won it in Canada. And the reason why I'm saying that is for people who are just like us, Kia, or just people who are gifted and talented, please don't give up. Please don't give up. I got these two around my 50th birthday. And it's still a blessing. As you can see, I get touched by it. Please do not give up. There, I have to say this like Steve Harvey says it. If God wanted those people or people that you know, family members or friends that don't support you, if God wanted them to have your talent, he would have gave it to them instead of you. And the reason why he gave it to you is because of the simple fact that it can only come through you to happen. If it does not come through you, whether it be a song, whether it be a film, whether it be a story, whatever it is, it has to come through you. It has to manifest through you. If it does not manifest through you, you will be doing the world a disservice, including the Most High. So don't give up. And as I say that to you, I also say that to myself.
I believe that. I have to connect you with Miss April Armstrong,
Okay.
who is the head of Armstrong International Media. She would love to meet you and is really been working with some exciting distributors. So yeah, I'm gonna have to connect you too.
Oh, please,
But
please.
thank
I need all the help I can get, really.
listen, we're family. We're gonna roll to the wheels fall
All
off.
right.
We are
All right.
family. That's
All
what
right.
we have to support each other, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. James. It was
Thank
wonderful
you.
having you tonight. Thank you to the audience that watched with us and those who will watch later. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it.
I
I
know it's not.
thank you for tuning in to Sister Talk with Valerie, where we share love and stories. If you have some stories and some love, some topics, because there's no topic that's off limits for me, y'all know that, please hit me up. You know how to inbox me. Thank you and have a wonderful evening, everyone. And thank you to my beautiful and talented daughter, Miss Kia Reed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good
And
night.
thank your wife for lending you to us for this hour.
Yeah, because, I'm in the bedroom, so I'm sure she's about to come and crash out.
So we get ready to get off, right?
It's all right.
Thank you.
It's all right. She's comfortable in this section, but she's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
She's fine.
Give her,
She's
give
fine.
her back her space.
I will. I will.
All
Thank
right, we'll
y'all.
talk
Thank y'all so
soon.
much. Okay, great. Looking
Bye-bye.
forward to it.